So as you guys know, Aric Almirola suffered a broken T5 vertebrae in a pretty scary crash at Kansas Speedway. Now a T5 vertebrae actually translates to a broken back, and this is the same type of injury that Denny Hamlin, not the same type of injury but a very similar injury that Denny Hamlin missed part of the 2013 season from 4 or 5 races. So I believe that the same thing will happen here to Almirola, and if that's the case, then here are 5 possible drivers that I can see potentially replacing Almirola for a few races. Let's start with Alex Bowman, the guy who I believe deserves a cup ride more than anybody in NASCAR, more than any young driver in NASCAR. Basically, his substitute duty for Dale Jr. was phenomenal. When Dale Jr. was sidelined with a concussion, won a pole at Phoenix, led the most laps. And when Dale Jr. retires, I'm actually one of those that is hoping that Bowman takes over the 88 because he deserves it. I mean, his substitute duty for Dale Jr. should be enough to prove that Bowman is ready for the cup level as long as he's given the right equipment. And that is the reason why I might not see Bowman in an RPM uniform, because he wants to be in a top equipment, and with RPM scaling back to a single car team with Whoop Brothers moving, and the emergence of Ryan Blaney, Stewart Haas Racing joining Ford, Richard Petty Motorsports is pretty much being relegated to the bottom of the Ford pyramid, of the Ford racing pyramid in NASCAR Cup. So this might actually hurt their appeal for Bowman to join RPM for a couple races. But if Bowman wants to take his talents elsewhere while he waits for that golden opportunity to arise to replace Dale Jr. In the 88, you might want to just say, meh, let's do it. Now another driver is Regan Smith, who, believe it or not, is still running NASCAR. If you haven't been following the Truck Series, let me tell you this: Regan Smith is actually running pretty alright. Not mind-blowing. His stats might not blow you away at this point. He's actually running 10th in points right now. But his team, the RBR Enterprises number 92 Ford, is a team that has been wanting to go full-time for so many seasons. The past few seasons, the team has actually wanted to run full-time, but inconsistency, crashes, lack of funding, lack of sponsorship, they have relegated this team to scale back to part-time for the last few races. So since we don't know if the RBR Enterprises ride is full-time, I mean, at this point they've attempted all races. They've attended all 4 races. They run all 4 races. But we don't know if the ride is full-time. They always start like this, and then they eventually scale back to part-time at around the halfway point of the season. So if this is the case, then Regan Smith could actually replace Almirola for a few races. But however, I don't think that Regan Smith will be replacing Almirola. Why I may not think of that is because the Truck Series schedule is more independent than the Cup schedule in terms of standalone races. For example, in June, the Truck Series will be running at Texas in the same weekend the Cup Series runs at Pocono. So I don't know, Regan Smith might attend a doubleheader running at Texas and then at Pocono on Sunday. I don't know, but just for the sake of saying this, I may not consider Regan Smith as a suitable replacement for Almirola in the long run. Now another driver that was in the Cup Series not so long ago was Casey Mears, who was actually racing last year for Germain Racing but was released in favor of Ty Dillon because NASCAR is transitioning towards a youth movement. I mean, I understand it, but it's still pretty unfortunate for Casey Mears. However, it's not all that unfortunate for Mears because he's right now running the Xfinity Series, sharing the number 98 Ford with Almirola. the same number 98 Ford that Almirola took to victory lane last week at Talladega in the Xfinity race. Now this is the interesting part. RPM has an agreement with Piaget and Best Racing, which is a team that fills number 98. So with that in mind, in my opinion, the most ideal replacement will be Casey Mears, because of the agreement, you automatically have a driver there waiting in the wings if something happens to your main driver. So I might actually see Casey Mears in the number 43. I mean, Mears is not the best replacement in my opinion, but the most ideal, because you don't have to just go through a lot with him. Now another driver, the next driver is Brian Scott, who is in a similar situation as Carl Edwards, where he hasn't really said he will retire, but if he returns, he will compete part-time. He will go part-time. And the last team he drove for was RPM. Last time he drove was for RPM before announcing his retirement at the later part of the season. And with Almirola injured, who knows, he might actually want to get the helmet back and start racing again. Maybe for a couple races, but hey, if you want to compete part-time, then go ahead, this is a perfect opportunity. And the last driver is Greg Biffle, who, like Brian Scott, hasn't said he will retire, but he has no cup ride. But in my opinion, he might be the most ideal replacement for RPM, because if RPM was a veteran replacement, then go with Biffle. Biffle is arguably the most experienced driver of the bunch here, and his allegiance to Ford usually helps, because all of Greg Biffle's success has been driving for Ford, for Roush Fenway Racing Fords. I mean, RPM Fords, they actually run the same engine, the same engine as Roush Fenway Racing. They're Roush Yates Racing prepare engines, so of course you got a loyal driver there who is willing to drive for Ford. So I actually see Biffle as the best replacement here of the bunch, but not the most ideal, because Biffle has been having a slump lately. So if Richard Petty Motorsports decides that they don't want to go with Biffle, then that's alright. I mean, his last few years with Roush Fenway Racing were a disappointment, to say the least. And finally, a honorable mention, and I'll mention him here because I don't think he's the honorable mention. Just, you know, Sam Hornish Jr. Last cup ride was with RPM in 2015, the last time he drove for the team. He's used mostly as a road course ringer in the Xfinity Series for teams like Joe Gibbs, Richard Childress. However, he is decent at oval tracks, and this is something that goes unnoticed actually. His progress at oval tracks, especially in the Xfinity circuit. I remember in the 2013 season when he made a run for the championship, but he lost to Austin Dillon in a pretty controversial championship because Dillon didn't win a single race and Hornish only won one. But most of the reason why Hornish was able to make a huge run at that championship was because of his progress at oval courses. However, most of his success lies at road courses, and that is why I don't see him replacing Almirola at an oval course. He is better suited for road courses, so if for some reason Almirola doesn't run or it's not clear to run at Sonoma, and I say Sonoma because this is the upcoming road course, the first road course in the schedule. I mean, Watkins Glen maybe, but I see Almirola fully healthy by the time we are in the month of August, so we'll go with Sonoma. If for some reason Almirola can't run at Sonoma, Hornish might just step in for just one race, because I don't see Hornish. While Hornish's progress in road courses is great, his progress in ovals in the Cup Series has been faltering. I mean, the Xfinity Series has been fantastic because Xfinity Series is Xfinity Series, but in oval courses in the Cup Series, I mean, there's a lot of competition. And so there you have it, 5 replacements plus a honorable mention for Almirola in the Cup Series.